What's up, everybody? I'm Age, and welcome to another episode of Talking Skritt, the Guild Wars 2 weekly news podcast. We got a fantastic show for you this week. Lunar New Year has arrived with Year of the Dog, a new balance patch has landed, and ArenaNet stands on buying and selling raids, and much more. But first, let me introduce you to my fellow hosts. He is a moderator over at MMO Champion and host of Zero to Hero on this channel, where with the new balance patch, he has hopefully left his enemies in PvP in a Deadpool or two. Say hello to Jim.
Hi, everybody. For the most part, yeah, with some coaching from some of our other Zero to Hero watchers, I'm happy to say that I'm actually playing Soul Beast now instead of just Core Ranger, and it's working pretty well. So,
Hey, there you go.
eh,
Dale and Arlie are out this week. Some personal stuff, but don't worry, we will do our best to entertain you. As I already did earlier, but you guys on YouTube will not see that. Uh, so we're gonna obviously get into the balance patch, all that good stuff. But first, we're gonna actually talk about the Lunar New Year, which arrived this year. So it is the Year of the Dog. So basically, some of the old stuff has returned, like the Lucky Envelopes, Dragon Ball, all that good stuff. But this year we get a new dog lantern instead of like the rooster, and what was the other one, the monkey. So
Goat.
we had a goat.
Pretty sure we hit Goat at
Hmm.
one point. I could be entirely wrong.
Well, uh, so yeah, you can basically collect lucky envelopes to earn essences of luck, delicious food, fireworks, valuable items, and a chance to find new dog lanterns and lucky great dog lantern backpacks. The Lunar New Year achievements have been split into three categories: New Year's customs for repeatable achievements and annual achievements that can be completed once a year, Lunar New Year for one time festival achievements, and Dragon Ball for the achievements specific to the Dragon Ball Arena. Uh, new things that have entered. A new seasonal adventure has been added to Divinity's Reach for the festival, so you could show your speed and talent by lighting off firecrackers that are spread across the city. And we have a new seasonal race event that has been unveiled in Divinity's Reach. So you can ring in the new year on your favorite mount or get a head start on your exercise goals on foot to earn the new annual and daily achievements. And festival goers who haven't earned an official mount license can speak with a race coordinator to temporarily rent a mount for a very small fee. And I don't know that fee, but hopefully it's very small. Um, we also the Dragon Ball Arena has been updated with rebalanced skills and shorter match times, and the whole Lunar New Year festivities will be available until 10 a.m. Pacific time on February 22nd. So, yeah,
Wow,
that's
that's a good runtime.
yeah, that's pretty decent. I think I know Overwatch did this with their event, but they extended it because people travel during this time of the year. So they kind of want people to like enjoy the festivities when they come back and things
Yeah,
like that. So that's pretty good. Oh, it's a silver for the buying amount for temporarily. So there you go.
that's not terrible.
Yeah, it's not terrible at all.
I'm I'm actually kind of disappointed they didn't come out with a Jackal skin for this.
It's not over yet, right? So
Yeah, I
maybe.
mean it's not, but you kind of figured they'd want the maximum amount of time to have like
Yeah,
the festival skin available, but
maybe they might want to do like uh not like a flash sale, but a temporary like limited amount of time to get this so that people are more inclined to
yeah,
get it.
probably because well, that makes money, but
Yeah.
it's kind of one of those things that I figure would come out right away. But I have actually yet to be able to do anything with Lunar New Year.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I basically had time to play Wednesday for Zero to Hero, and then for the rest of the week, I was just completely busy with other stuff.
Oh,
So
oh, you gotta get
now
those.
I'm not home as obvious, so I won't be able to play until tomorrow night. So
Oh,
oh well.
rip, Jim. You gotta get those divine lucky envelopes. It's free money.
Well, I might be able to remote into my computer at home and slowly
There,
work my way
there you
through
go.
it, but.
There you go. There are other February 6th patch notes that might be interesting to you, and this one was actually very interesting. So, strength boosters, armor boosters, rejuvenation boosters, and speed boosters no longer work in World versus World.
It's another week with actual WW updates, Age.
Yeah, but this one's really interesting because we've had these boosters available in World vs. World for a long time, so I'm actually interested in the reasoning why they did this now.
Well, if they're going to be putting more competitive focus on WW, no more buying power, effectively.
I mean, yeah, I guess so. It's kind of interesting.
They're not absolutely useless, Tavik. It's just they are of minimal use. I mean, it's basically here is something to help you in open world.
Yeah,
So
speed in World versus World is power. I'll give them that.
yeah,
Um, I I don't know. Don't I didn't feel like I run boosters from time to time, but I didn't feel like it would just make or break a fight. It's very interesting. Anyway, let's move on to other things. We got celebration boosters and birthday boosters now granted 10% bonus to World versus World reward track progress.
same thing as PvP, so makes sense.
There you go. Uh, we changed the superior rune of snowfall and major rune of snowfall so that they no longer give a 25% damage decreased for falling. Instead, they now grant super speed when taking fall damage. That's an interesting one. Not sure.
I don't know what that's for.
Maybe that's. Do you break when you super speed so that when you fall from a large height and you take damage, you just instantly get up?
Oh, it's countering gliders. Okay. Like
Oh,
you can glide into. So what I'm assuming is happening is people are gliding into zones they don't control from a higher point, maybe. But I think it also might have to do with gliders.
hmm.
So, oh,
Okay.
well, like the 25% damage reduction of fall damage from the rune, plus having a trait, it was probably like more of a fall distance than they wanted you to be able to take safely.
Okay. That's fair. Oh, Max said in chat, Guild Wars 2 is a skill heavy game, so it probably doesn't make or break a fight, but there's still no reason to let people use it and give a reason to whine about it.
For the
Uh,
boosters,
for
yeah.
the
I can
boosters,
understand that.
I guess so. Yeah. I mean, I guess their best use now is in, like,
Open world
open world and fractals?
events.
I think you can use
Yeah.
them in fractals. It's still an interesting change in my opinion. Let's see what else we got. We have fixed a bug in which player turrets or traps would attempt to hit gadgets that cannot be targeted. Okay, makes sense. Achievement groups within the historical category have been organized. Fixed an issue in Tangled Depths in which the earth elemental hands could not be attacked by certain projectiles. For raids, new stolen skills for thieves have been added to all encounters. I will talk about that, don't worry. Raids, we fixed a bug in which players occasionally clip through walls when hit by Deathmark in a Doom encounter. And there are other ones as well. Um, well, we'll come back. I'll come back to that actually. Special Forces training area. The new Steve bundle options have been added to the Golem Recombo Busculator options menu. Holy. Okay. Only thieves will see this option. Personal story fixed a bug in which players could be launched into outer space when gliding into an updraft in the Hearts and Mind chapter of Heart of Thorns. That's a big one. I didn't know that could happen.
I'm still kind of surprised that we're getting bug fixes for Hearts and Minds, but
I, I mean, yeah. I mean, cool, great. I think I want to experience that once. But anyway, piece of a common unidentified gear. This now has a new icon to differentiate it from pieces of rare unidentified gear. The Watchwork portal device. This device will now perform a range check before allowing exit portals to be created in order to prevent Creation of unusable portals. Same with the White Mantle portal device. Sigil Frenzy. This no longer gives alacrity. Instead, it recharges all currently active skills by 2 seconds after defeating a foe. Superior Rune of Leadership. This is a big one. Reduce the crystalline ore cost of this rune from 100 to 50 at the vendor and dragon stand, and reduce the cost at the heroics notary vendor from 2 gold to 1. That is actually pretty big one.
Yeah, that's a big deal right there.
For those who don't know, leadership is like the boon rune that you want.
It is the prime concentration rune, so that's good for everybody involved. So
yeah, so that's fantastic. And Piles of Silky Sand now has a consume all option. Where's Lint when you need
waiting for Zlint to pop up in chat.
Alrighty. Let's see. There are other extra notes added. So, fix various bugs in which Shadow Step could find valid paths through walls, which is always a problem in Warver's World. Improve the reliability of some Shadow Step attacks when using against certain targets. Fix some bugs with bug decorations and contacts LFG. Some players were stuck in a state in which they trained their elite spec on a PvP map that doesn't allow character progression. Players can enter their home instance or go to Hall of Monuments with the character train any stalled elite specialization to receive the achievements and collections they earned. Okay.
Huh. That's weird.
Ooh, that's interesting. Fix a bug that prevented players who did not own Heart of Thorns from accessing the domain of Istan reward track in World vs. World, and fix the graphics engine issue. Dry Top 3 Toad Tootsie now has a standard Defiance bar. That'll help me with the Minstrel.
That's probably why they changed it.
Yeah. Spaghetti. Yeah, Leadership Rune is pretty much best in slot with Alacrity being a boon now.
Yeah.
Which we'll actually get into some balance patch notes. So first of all, we'll go over the general stuff. So Sink Float, the speed at which sink and float move vertically has been reduced by 50%. Evasion, the tooltip has received a new icon. Hounds of Balthazar received updates to their voiceover lines. Fix a rare bug in which weapon swapping could cancel skill cooldowns upon breaking stuns. Fix a bug in which sync effects would permanently lock players in place when players were down underwater. Consume Plasma. This bundle now grants alacrity for 3 seconds in addition to its previous boons. And an interesting one for you support players. Increase the support credit given to players by 50% for granting boons, cleansing conditions, healing, and reviving. Now you still have to tag enemies, but you can no longer stand around and passively give boons and get rewards in progress.
I think that actually came around because we talked about it during the Awakened Invasions.
Mm-hmm.
That it's really hard to get credit for it because stuff doesn't scale right.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
I mean, stuff like this will make it a lot easier for people to get credit, like gold credit to events, because it's very rare that you don't incidentally provide some kind of support, especially with the combo system. So, I mean, even if you're an entirely combat-focused character on just doing stuff, you're going to do like a blast or whirl or leap finisher in some way, shape, or form at some point. So, this is good for everybody.
Yeah. And it's good for people who like the healing aspect of anything,
right?
And just want to do that, so they can still get credit. Now let's go on to the boons and condition changes. So, Alacrity, we talked about last week. Alacrity is now a boon. The recharge speed bonus has been reduced from 33% to 25%. Regen now uses the greatest healing regeneration to immediately heal you, rather than going by each regeneration stack's duration or order of application. So this is actually really good.
That's really confusing, the way they worded that.
Yeah, so basically, when you apply 3 different sources of regeneration on you, the one that grants you the most healing will be applied first, and the least amount will be applied last. So there you go.
Basically, if you've got somebody rolling, if you've got three people rolling regeneration, like if your regeneration's never going to run out, it will calculate based on the person applying the highest with the highest healing power.
Yeah.
To just remove it running out as an even as any kind of issue.
Yeah. So I actually really like that. It's pretty good. Here's one that I've heard a little bit about. Now, confusion. Heavily reweighted damage from this condition's base damage over time component to the damage on skill use component. The condition damage contribution has been removed from the damage over time component and redistributed into the damage on skill use component. This is very confusing. This condition remains split between PvE and PvP as well. So basically,
now, when I read that, does that mean that Condi damage as a stat no longer affects the dot portion of confusion?
Basically, yeah. So from what I have understood so far, it's basically, and correct me if I'm wrong, chat, but from what I've understood, the damage over time, which is the ticking point, is a little bit more of that went into the damage on skill use. So if the enemy actually uses a skill, they'll get hit a lot more with damage. But
yeah, Uncultured Savage's point is actually something that kind of made me confused when I read this. Is they put the ticking, like the standard dot damage ticking to confusion, so that PvE people had actual more use for confusion. So I think this is where a lot of the Mirage damage dropped off into the abyss, is because they just lost so much from losing confusion as an actual damage source.
yeah, it's very interesting. I think that affected Mirage X the most. I think, if I recall correctly, it was very interesting. I had a dev answer my question whether PvE version was bugged. I thought confusion would be the same, but yeah, enemies using skills damage them. The difference is that the tick is more powerful in PvE. Oh, okay.
Okay, so the base tick is still more powerful in PvE, but it seems that the confusion change is still there in PvE. So I don't understand it all that much.
Yeah. Well, it seems like they made it like you have to actually, at least for PvP and World Wars as well. It seems like you actually have to force people to use skills,
right,
in order to get your
and
damage.
I'm okay with that in PvP and WW. Like that totally makes sense because that's what confusion was supposed to be. But it's going to change a lot of things for Mesmers in PvE.
Yeah.
So
because the rate which mobs you actually use skills or abilities is
pretty low.
Is pretty low in comparison.
There are some exceptions, but it's for the most part pretty low.
Yeah. All right. So we'll actually talk about some boons to conversions and vice versa. So Alacrity now converts to 3 seconds of chill, which actually me and Matthias were actually discussing what it could be, but that's an interesting one. Resistance now converts 2 seconds to 2 seconds of immobilize. I question this one a little bit, right? Malthanis, you seem like you want to say something.
I question the fact that resistance can be converted.
We're going back to that, eh?
Well, I mean, they went through a big pass that removed, like, chaining a large chunk of resistance a while ago. Like, warriors are not these resistance output machines that they used to be in PvP, and at least in PvP, because I'm not going to lie, I used it because it was really the only thing I could do against Condi. But
yeah, resistance, you can actually boon corrupt it to immobilize. And the reason I personally don't like it is that it doesn't. That seems like a very punishing thing to convert to. And the reason I say that is because let's say you're in World versus World, for example, and you put on resistance. So you're trying to get like not get hit with. You're trying to mitigate conditions, and then all of a sudden that gets converted into a immobilize. So no longer, not only are you going to get hit with all the condies that you have, but you're also immobilized, so you're going to be stuck in AoEs that people will pile onto you, and that doesn't feel good at all. I I think it should have been converted to vulnerability. I personally
And
think it should have been converted to vulnerability.
and Ozzy, this is a change to the global corrupt table. So anytime you use a skill that says corrupts a boon, if it targets resistance, it becomes immobilized.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. The amount
and
of
yeah,
it's that's I really do question this one. I would say I think the proper one would be vulnerability because resistance is like defending you from conditions. Vulnerability, I believe it now actually makes you vulnerable to conditions as well as power damage.
yes, it's the same. It's 1% per stack
Yeah.
for Vuln. And yes, Ozzy, resistance is a boon. It can be stolen, it can be stripped, it can be corrupted. It's the exact same thing as anything else. My statement is I think that resistance should prevent corruptions. Like, I don't think resistance should be able to be corrupted because they did a big pass a while ago that basically shortened global resistance as a whole. It was primarily targeting warriors, but when you can corrupt it and scourges are so prevalent right now, what's it matter what resistance can do? It's going to get corrupted.
Yeah, it's a really feels bad, man. Hopefully ArenaNet will look into it and consider heavily trying to change that because I feel like that'll be a problem down the
I
road.
can kind of agree with Zekriux on that, though. Like resistance, if they really want to like heavily control how long resistance is applied, make it a unique enhancement instead of a boon.
Hmm. That would actually be require a little bit of rebalancing in that respect.
Oh yeah, I mean
Yeah.
absolutely it would, but then it's actually fulfilling its purpose in that it's protecting you from Condi. When it can just get kicked off into oblivion with all the rest of your boons and turned into Condi, I don't think it's really doing its job.
Okay. Yeah, QD said like 1% vulnerability is 1% damage and condition damage per stack. So I would say
Yep.
like I don't know, convert it to 5 stacks. I don't know, maybe. Or like the easy solution I think would be to convert it to vulnerability, but I do agree with Zekriox in that maybe it should be its unique a unique enhancement. I think that would be pretty cool.
I I don't know if non-conquest PvP maps are going to happen anytime soon, Ozzy. I'm sorry.
Yeah, they are working on PvP stuff, but we'll hear more about that hopefully in their AMA type of thing. That's actually next week, I think, isn't it?
I believe so.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. We'll pull out stuff for that for next week. So more about the changes. Chill now converts to 3 seconds of alacrity. Immobilize now converts to 2 seconds of resistance. So basically vice versa, what we just said. Protection reduces the vulnerability inflicted from 3 stacks for 10 seconds to 3 stacks for 8 seconds when this boon is converted to a condition. Regeneration reduces the poison inflicted from 1 stack to 10, from 1 stack to 6 seconds when this boon is converted to a condition. Might reduce the weakness inflicted from 10 seconds to 5 seconds when this boon is converted to a condition. I personally like this change.
It's not. It's still 5 seconds of weakness.
It's better than 10. I believe me. It's
In PvP, that's still an entire like that's you sneeze on someone as a scourge,
that's
and they got incidental might from a crit in their trait line, and
that's
they now do no damage to you.
that's very brutal. That's very brutal. Has Guild Wars started in World versus
Oh
World?
no, they
Oh
they
no.
we are at least 6 months out from the whole guild alliance thing,
Oh yeah.
Ozzy.
Yeah. The guild. We'll talk about it really quickly, but Ozzy's talking about the new World versus World redesign for World restructuring. Basically, they're scrapping all the old worlds and dynamically generating worlds and placing people onto them. And that was just a design they came up with and showed everyone last week. And they're probably going to start on it now, and it'll take at least 6 months. What people are guessing. Um,
But the might change, like it in PvP and WW, it's still 5 seconds of glancing blows. And again, with the prevalence of corrupts, you get another crit and you get an incidental might stack, and that's another 5 seconds of weakness added onto your stack.
yeah.
So
I mean, like 15 seconds is better than 30, right? I mean, come on.
but it's still like the problem is it's still forever in
It's
PvP.
it does feel like forever,
Okay.
but
Okay, Age. Remember Tarek Stun when it was point and click in League of Legends?
yes.
The longest it ever was 1.2 seconds. How long does a Tarek Stun did a Tarek Stun feel back then?
Okay, I see. Okay, I see your point. You can die in 15 seconds. Yeah, I know, but it's still by.
It doesn't buy you much time. It literally at that point it is literally back up, wait for the condi to fall off, try again.
So should it be less time then? Is what you're saying?
I don't know. It feels like the problem I have with it is it feels like weakness is should also stack if it's going to be the mirror of might.
Oh, okay.
So I feel like, sure, if you corrupt 25 stacks of might, yeah, take that 50% damage cut because you just blew up someone's power base. Cool, fine, whatever. But if you're somebody who wants to draw out the corrupt and then pump your damage with a crap ton of might and then go in, you just counterplayed, you just played the matchup perfectly. So
Okay.
I think the problem is like weakness is just you have a flat 50% reduction to everything. Doesn't proper, it's too much power for what it's countering.
Okay.
So
I was thinking more of like what you said, converting it to from might to weakness. I was thinking stacks when you said that.
yeah, no, I
Okay.
completely think that stacks of weakness should be a thing.
Okay.
Like it should be kind of like Vuln, where it's 2% damage reduction, 2% physical damage reduction per stack, stacks to 25, just like might, and it mirrors itself.
Okay.
So that would be a better system, I think.
I could see that. I could see that happening. What else do we have? We have Vigor, reduce the bleeding inflicted from 3 stacks from 10 seconds to 2 stacks for 8 seconds when this boon is converted into a condition. Basically, a lot of boon to corruption, corruption to condition, boon to condition, condition to boon changes. Yeah. Either stack it or nerf weakness to 33% or 25% PP only. I actually, you know what? 33% actually sounds reasonable to start off with anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, I'm gonna prefer my own idea, but I still think that the stacking would be good if you wanted actual parity. That one. But changing it to 33 or 25% first would go a long way to helping power specs in PvP and WW.
Okay. All right, guys. That's all for the finer details. Now we're gonna go into each profession. If you guys want to chip in on Twitch, for you guys in Twitch, feel free to chip in with your opinions as we go down the list. For those of you who are watching on YouTube, feel free to lay down your thoughts of whatever profession that you feel like got nerf, buff, or your thoughts in general. All right. So, Elementalist.
I got it.
Can I? I'm just gonna read the synopsis and then we're gonna go.
Okay.
In this update, we look to improve the Weaver's sword damage and move its high healing aspects further into the water attunement. In this vein, we reduced Riptide's healing and increased Aqua Siphon's base and healing power contributions. Additionally, we wanted to improve less used skills and signets and improve the glyph of storms so that the storms have better situational use versus situational use via differentiated recharges.
Okay, so them nerfing Riptide is yay, because tanky Weavers would press 2 in water and heal for like 50% of their health.
Oh.
Riptide was super strong. Now, in order to get all of the healing in water, you have to be double water attuned and use Sword 3. Like, and it's really strong team healing because it does a lot of AoE, but you still have to hit a target too. So if it gets blocked or dodged or evaded, it's also useless. So it actually puts a lot more skill into the healing. And Netco, yes, they buffed the skill you won't use anyway and nerf the most powerful skill. Well, that was the problem. Also, they don't, like, I get the vibe that they don't want Weaver to be Bunker, and that's what Weaver was.
Yeah.
Like, Weaver just wouldn't die because they could press 2 in water and it had a really low cooldown and they gain all their health back. So I think that's a good thing. What Zacharias said is Weaver Sword, the damage got hella buffed, which I'm totally okay with that. The Signet changes. There is actually something they didn't put into the patch notes for Signet of Water.
Oh, really?
So Signet of Water now, instead of just cleansing a Condi every 10 seconds, it makes you take 20% less Condi damage.
Oh.
It is now an AoE target for the use, and it damages and chills enemies, heals allies, and also gives them revives. It heals down to targets in the AoE. It has a 20-second cooldown. Signet of Fire has less burning on it, but now affects up to 4 additional targets around the main target.
Okay.
And then the Glyph of Storms is...
Oh, that was a good one.
Yeah, every storm now has its own unique cooldown. Fire has a 20-second, water has a 30 or 40, and...
Firestorm from 60 to 25 seconds. Ice Storm from 60 to 30.
Sandstorm is 40.
Yeah.
Okay. And their cooldowns all start at the same time, but each glyph has a unique cooldown.
That's pretty cool.
That starts on use. But say, you could use technically 2 fires in the time you use 1 air. If you go back to fire and re-hit fire, it will restart the cooldown on the other signets. So fire, 25 seconds later, fire, if you immediately swap to air, it will show ticking down from 60.
Okay. Huh.
It's weird, and I kind of agree with Netco is that it's a little unintuitive, but I'm kind of interested in seeing where it goes for use.
Yeah.
So
I can see it being confusing with the separate CDs. It's like you have to keep a mental note of that, which is always a little. I do see that being a little bit annoying, but I kind of like Glyph of Storms is which one now? It's the utility or elite?
It's a utility. It's a regular utility. It was elemental. Okay. But and then Glyph of Elemental Power, while you have hits up from it, you now get a 25% damage buff per hit.
That's pretty. I mean, I haven't played a lot of Weaver, but it sounds good. I don't know. You're gonna have to.
Yeah, no, it's more damage for Weaver, less sustain. It's not supposed to be a safe sustainy spec.
Okay.
So Riptide is still an evade. It's still a heal. It's just not as good a heal. So I think these are all good changes to put Weaver where they wanted it to be. It's better for its purity of purpose.
Okay. And then we have Superior Elements fix the bug in which multiple weavers could override each other's cooldowns. That just sounds funny.
Yeah.
uh, that's very interesting. All right. Um, I will suggest at least for the glyph of what's it called again? Glyph of Storms. Maybe there's a ideal rotation you could do. I'm not sure. Maybe someone will come up with one. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Anyway, um, next up is the engineer. So the alchemy and invention specialization has been cleaned up and has had a few complete trait replacements to allow for greater synergy within their lines. The Scrapper Elite specialization also received changes to streamline and define it as a tank specialization by adding barrier and by better linking its minor traits to the new major options. Um, I've seen a lot of talk about NG, specifically Scrapper and the Boon Share.
You want some bunker? Because NG's got some bunker now. Like we're back to that. Like you want to hold a point in PvP, make a scrapper. Because your heal skill will give you max barrier.
Yeah.
With the new trait.
And apparently they got a bit of Connie cleanse in some places as well.
Yes, with the aforementioned purity of purpose.
Yeah, I just. Whew.
So
the anti-necro.
Yes, no, Uncultured Savage is completely right. Because the reason I keep bringing up purity of purpose is it's a new trait in alchemy where when you would cleanse, you instead convert condies to boons. Elixir Gun 5 is a light field. Whirl Gyro is a whirl finisher.
But
so you've got cleansing bolts all over the place.
I'm seeing a lot of, yeah. I didn't go over the engine notes all that much, but I'm seeing a lot of interesting things. Like I don't know who uses advanced turrets, but this trait, like, it's been replaced with anti-corrosion plating, which cleanses a condition from an ally when you grant them protection. If I recall correctly, NG can grant a lot of protection. So,
Zekriox, I haven't seen a scrapper tank. I haven't seen a bunker scrapper in a very long time. The thing I don't think we'll be seeing the return of bunker scrapper quite yet. It's not quite where it needs to be. Like Breakfast Torment is saying that the new stuff for scrapper really still needs tuned. But the fact that they finally decided that scrapper is a tank spec as opposed to this weird super speed damage spec with the minor traits it's a lot better in general. And that's another thing is I always kind of felt like like they were doing the passes on Revenant a while ago where it felt like your traits weren't super useful outside of the legend that they tied to. Like there were a lot of times where using devastation traits didn't feel good unless you were in Shiro. With Engineer, it felt like a lot of the traits didn't quite weave together as well as you wanted to. I don't know if I don't play my Engineer that much, but they're getting there. And the fact that they're willing to make these changes in the first place, good, because iteration is how you get to a good product. So eventually we'll be good.
Yeah. There's a lot of barrier being applied when you use, for example, like healing skill.
That's a minor. So
yeah, there's in a bunch of places there's a lot of barrier things. Increases in super speed, effectiveness of barriers received by 15%. Adaptive armor looks really good. It grants a barrier with a 3-second cooldown and reduces condition damage by 20% while you have a barrier. It's
like scrappers are now anti-Condi.
Yeah, they're really tanky. And it seems like they just That's
Thanks, Red Wolf.
that's very interesting.
That's, yes, that's the only problem is I am a developer, so I kind of understand the concepts of iteration. It sucks that things suck now, but eventually, hopefully.
They need shorter iterations. um,
Uh, Not disagreeing with that one.
yeah.
So,
I mean, well, um, but yeah, I would like to play engineer in PvP, but I can't on my main account because I have a 100% win rate, and I'm not gonna lose that. Even if it's one win, it's still 100%, and I keep it.
well, I think that's Deo's logic, right? Is he won one ranked game and now he's an undefeated ranked champion?
I wouldn't go that far. I would just say like I have never been defeated on engineer in PvP, but and I don't plan to. Uh, but I'll play on my EU account and I'll test that out because actually that's Scrapper sounds like could be a lot of fun, but just messing with people, just staying alive forever. Um, Next up is Guardian. So spirit weapons have not felt solid due to having a few too many restrictions on their use, so the time between uses was reduced for all spirit weapons except the crowd controlling hammer. Several firebrand skills were too powerful, which became very clear in PvP and World vs. World games. So defense tomes received tweaks in those modes. Um,
I'm okay with the spirit weapon changes. I was using spirit weapons a lot. I just changed to a firebrand build, which nixed. I was using Sword of Justice and Hammer. I'm totally understanding of the Hammer not getting the 1 second in between casts because that'd be too much. Because that's a 1 second knockdown every second for I think it has 2 or 3 charges. That'd be kind of silly. Well, it could be three hammers because if you take the spirit weapon trait, you get an extra charge, and they do additional burning.
Oh, okay, yeah, I can see.
Like Sword of Justice was, if I hit Sword of Justice and Greatsword 2 on a single target, I could spike up to 15 burning
Damn.
because each sword hit from both your spin and from the Sword of Justice counts as a hit for Virtue of Justice. And then every time the sword hits, it applies burning because you have the trait. It was kind of silly. But
it seems like they hit the firebrand in terms, or just Guardian in general in terms of the tomes and the sustain parts of it, like Aegis and
well, that's just all firebrand. So you were right in the first place.
Okay, so just across the board.
The biggest deal is Tome of Courage, Chapter 1. It no longer grants Aegis.
Oh, that actually kind of sucks.
Yeah, no, that needed to happen. It was way too powerful because you figure when you grant Aegis, you what was it? I think the problem was it was interacting too much with the when Aegis you grant procs, it heals.
Oh, okay.
So Guardians were getting way too much healing out of the mitigation one.
Wow.
Instead of pushing the healing into the actual healing tome. So
Oof.
it's
okay.
I don't think Firebrand it's better. And this is more Firebrand combined with Scourge, I think is still too strong in PvP, but I feel like I can actually kill them now.
Okay.
And it just takes way too long.
Okay, so better, but room for improvement, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that's most of it. I went through it rather quickly, so if anyone has anything to add, just throw it in chat.
Oh, the one thing I did want to add, the trait Retributive Armor has been removed and replaced with Tenacious Defense. When Aegis you apply blocks an attack, remove 1 second from the cooldown of Virtue of Justice.
Oh, that's actually pretty nice.
Yeah, so you hit retreat, it applies to 5 targets. All those targets proc, you get 5 seconds off that cooldown.
It's pretty nice. There's no internal cooldown on that? Oh, that's
I
cool.
think so. Well, you got to figure that a lot of the guardian abilities that apply Aegis are cooldowns, so it's not like you can just roll Aegis on a regular basis, and it has to be Aegis. It's not like if you hit Shelter,
Yeah,
all those blocks proc it. So
that makes sense. Yeah. Okay. Hmm. That's interesting. I might want to toy with that one a little bit. Next up is Mesmer, and this is going to be very long and I think a little hard because I don't think either Nothanis or I are heavily Mesmer players.
least played class in the game for me.
So we will try our best to.
I agree with Zekriox.
Um,
Like it's just too damn much. We could do a single show on Mesmer by and of itself.
we'll try to we'll try to pick out a few things. So, um, I know we'll pick out the main things like the alacrity change and the phantasm change. Now, from what I've heard, Mesmers are pretty okay in terms of the DPS rolls. From what I've seen from videos, there's a power spec and a condi spec that does around 30k DPS, so that's good for them. And also the the alacrity thing being a boon, it means just it's easier to keep it up because it's already part of the boon cycle thing. Um, so overall, I think it's okay. So people are figuring out how to, at least in a PVE perspective, people are figuring out the new way to play Mesmer. So
Uh, yeah, that's pretty good, Zakriox. Phantasms are quick summons, more powerful, and when they execute their attack, they become clones. They can be killed.
yeah, um, I'm just looking through this rather quickly to see if anything pops out to me. But it seems like they did go through a lot of the skills and traits, just balancing things out since they did these two major changes. Um, Unfortunately, I don't play. I do play Mesmer and Raid, but I don't know enough about the profession to actually have a valid opinion, I guess. Uh, but yeah, overall, I think,
I
I think it's fine. I haven't heard huge cries of frustration
well, it's funny you say cry of frustration because wasn't that a isn't that a trait
or a skill. Yeah,
or a skill, something like that? But see, Uncultured Savage, you bring up that you strongly dislike the Phantasm change. I think it's good for the game because I think the problem was there was a very strong baseline of DPS that Mesmers could do as power if they just pulled up a bunch of phantasms and completely ignored shatter mechanics. So I think this change actually has a really good ebb and flow with actually having Mesmers use their class mechanic on both Condi and power specs. And I think that like there are people, I think somebody was saying you could get like up to 6 phantasms rolling at once, and then if you're playing chrono, you chrono rift and then you come back from that and do it again.
yeah.
So there's really strong burst in power phantasm right now if you play it right. I see. You say that it should have been saved for an elite spec on Culture Savage. I don't think it was good for the base game. Like I think that's the problem. Is I don't think that just sitting with
Eh,
phantasms up was good for the base game.
those numbers: 30 Axe Mirage, 35k Staff Mirage, 40k Power Chrono, 32k. It's an 8. That's pretty good.
Yeah. So
Uh,
I honestly think this is better play for baseline
um,
Mesmer in general.
I uh, I had a talk with someone about this. I personally like being active because Guild Wars 2 is an action combat game. I like running around, dodging, pressing buttons, things like that. And I understand it, and from the other perspective, someone saying like I actually like having the passiveness as an option. And I was thinking about it. It's like, yeah, I guess I could agree with that because it's an option of a play style, and kind of eliminated that type of play style. But
But who else has that?
it's pretty much what you
Like,
do is have three phantasms ups.
well, I
Axes
mean,
are
what other class can do that?
play passively.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, what other class can just use, like, can ignore their class mechanic and still do acceptable damage?
Hmm. Got a point.
Like, even people can say Rangers, but timely use of the pet F2 ability is still key in all points of the game.
Okay.
And then swapping pets, because there's a lot of traits that apply when you swap pets. I don't even. What? A thief can ignore steal? I don't. Like, is that what you mean, QED? Because I don't think a thief can really ignore steal, especially with the new stuff from raids.
Well, it said dodge, so. Oh. Dodge, dodge, dodge. Well, I
Yeah,
guess.
well.
Oh, that was.
Are we complaining about daredevils still?
Sorry about that. Was one of my notifications went up, so I think someone followed me on my channel. So thank you for whoever followed. Sorry, that was weird. I was like, what the? I was like, I don't have notifications for this. Uh, but yeah, I, I agree that it takes away a play style that some people may have liked. I personally don't mind it just because I like action combat, but I understand from the other perspective.
That's that's the other thing that, like, that's the reason why I was asking, is like, it's a play style that I don't think anybody else can do.
Yeah.
Like, very, like, I think that Phantasm Power Mesmer was literally the only spec that could summon phantasms and completely ignore their class mechanic.
I mean, to be fair, like Necros are the boon corrupt kings, right? So like they're
Well, yeah,
like
but that's
besides
still using their
Spellbreaker.
class mechanics.
Yeah.
That's They still have to use their shade skills.
Mm.
Warriors need to use their bursts. Guardians need to use their virtues. They have to actively, like, I was running core guardian. I never used my virtue, like, I never hit the actives on my virtues, but I was a burn guardian. My entire play literally revolved around getting as many hits as possible because I was getting the burn from the passive of justice. I was playing around my class skill. Elementalist, swapping attunements. Ranger, I was talking about pet mechanics. Engineer has to use their tool belt because it's basically another line of utility skills. So,
Okay.
but it's one of those things where it's like, it's a passive playstyle that no one else could replicate.
Yeah. It's interesting. Anyway, leave your guys' comments in the description.
YouTube
YouTube
and all
stuff.
that good stuff. For
That's interesting. I'd like your
We'll
opinions
come
about
back
that.
to Mesmer in post show.
Yeah, yeah. Just one little extra thing is that I think Axe from Mirage is now a torment weapon because now Imaginary Axes now applies torment instead of confusion. Previous iterations unchanged. So that's an interesting change as well. I'm not sure how people feel about that, but I guess with all the confusion changes, I don't know. Maybe that's better or not. I don't know. Anyway, let's move on to Malthanis' favorite profession, Necromancer. Scourge Sades have long been a pain point in PvP and World vs. World, with their rapid corruption and few tells for players to spot. In this update, we're introducing better tells for shade actions, reducing the more oppressive condition applications, and easing up on the punished boon corruptions. On the other side of things, we improve the effect of vampiric presence to make it competitive with the auras of other professions.
Oh my god, have they?
Oh yeah, vampiric presence. I'm gonna read this one. The power contribution for the necromancer to the damage portion of this trait has been increased by about 1,200%. The healing power contribution from the necromancer has been increased by about 560%. The functionality of this trait has been modified and currently increases its effectiveness by 100% when in shroud. This effect now has a 0.5-second cooldown.
This is good.
Yeah.
I have a. I need to double check. I used to have my my Necro running full clerics, and I might swap the Zerk trinkets out for clerics again. But I was doing a really tanky Necro build. Vampiric Presence, I think, was hitting for 200 for me, and healing for like 120, and that was in Shroud. So it's a half-second cooldown. So that's pretty strong.
Yeah, I really like the change. Oh, Mesmer changes RP druids out of the fractal meta with this change. I guess yeah, that makes sense because they can share all the might and heals.
Yeah.
You can bring whatever. Scourge. This is one change that they added. Added a 0.5-second warning to enemy players on each shade, and on the player when activating a shade skill.
It's a rate indicator.
Yes,
it's the filling orange circle.
Yeah, it's like slightly reddish.
Yeah,
like at the edges, but it kind of gets transparent as you move it towards the center of the skill. But it was interesting. I think did they end up disabling one of the skills because there were so many AoEs or something like that?
I don't know. I don't remember seeing that.
I remember.
You'd have to look through the.
I remember reading a tweet that one of the Necro skills were disabled or trait was disabled. I think it was something that happened in World versus World, but it's pretty insane. Necro's always breaking World versus World.
Yeah, well, they're good at that. So the funny thing is, Path of Corruption, which is it's the curses trait line skill that when you, I can't remember what the proc was for it, but it would convert 2 boons into conditions. Scourge nerfs another trait line's trait now. When you use Path of Corruption as a Scourge, it only corrupts 1 boon now.
That's funny.
Yeah. So.
They said one trait was buggy, get perma ages. Oh wow.
Okay.
That kind of breaks World versus World. There you go.
Breaks things a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. But Path of Corruption change. That's an interesting one.
Like that's because the problem is that Scourge has too many corrupts.
Yeah.
Like it's cool, but
there's so many.
Yeah, it's really easy. It's really easy for them to just take all your shit, man.
Yeah.
So,
well, there was one other skill here that was interesting. Oh yeah, Sand Swell. Increase the speed of the portal's formation once the skill has been cast, and alter the effect so that it doesn't get called when in high density situations. A lot of people have been using the Necroport, the Scourge portal for Soulless Horror. I've seen it a few times. I've actually been in runs where people use it, and this actually is a good change for those types of instances. For World vs. World, it's very good in case you want to use that portal to get 20 people through. I think that's the limit, so that they actually see it and it doesn't get called out. So that's actually pretty good.
Doesn't Mesmer Portal have the same protection?
I don't know if it actually has that same effect. I think so. It would make sense.
Yeah, but that's. I mean, it needs to be seen to be used as a utility. So.
Yeah. So there you go. I think that's all for Neko. It's actually really short for Neko, but a few interesting changes. All right. Next up is Ranger. For Rangers, this update focused on bug fixes and improvements to Soul Beast skills. We allowed stances shared with Leader of the Pack to stack in duration, and we updated several of the merge pet attack skills. We hope that these changes will give Soul Beast players a wider variety of pets to play with in various areas of the game. Okay.
Oh, Ranger isn't. Okay,
Ranger's first thing.
Ozzy. When you say Ranger is broken, please elaborate. And while you're typing that, um, basically all of this is quality of life. The stance stacking is better for when you have multiple Rangers using the stance trait from Soul Beast. So if I grant one stance, another one in my party grants the same stance, it stacks the duration. So,
Okay.
yay.
Immortal that ganks you.
I'm not immortal. Like I play Soul Beast in PvP. It's not immortal. I'll admit I have a lot of ways to get out of stuff. Rangers with Mender's Amulets. What build? Uncultured Savage.
To be fair, druids could do that too.
Yeah.
Well, not win in the sense of killing people, but win in just holding the points.
Just living until support comes or until people bugger off, because why bother fighting this?
Yeah. Let's read some of these changes. Stances now stack their individual durations in case of Rangers using Leaders of the Pack trait.
Yeah.
Yeah. Twice as vicious. Fix a bug in which this trait triggers when dismounting. We heal as one. The skill will now copy Alacrity in addition to its previous boons. Pretty nice. Entangle. Fix a bug in which the skill could tick 4 times instead of 5. And we have a whole bunch of pet changes. They're basically durations have been adjusted for PvE, some for PvP as well. Looking through this one, seems like they also increase or decrease damage for various pets.
Yeah, the only thing that's the Fang de Boga, and that's just because of confusion, because that's what it applied. Yeah. Aussie, then literally everything that you guys are talking about has nothing to do with what happened here, because everything that is here is just Alacrity stuff, confusion changes to pet abilities, and updates to Soul Beast merge skills.
Yeah.
So there's nothing in Soul Beast that is doing this. It's Druid. And I'll admit, I've run into some power druids in PvP this past week that were really dumb. I don't know how the hell they were killing me, but it's not like these changes are... Like, nothing right now changed Soul Beast to make it suddenly immortal, because there wasn't any change for that.
Yeah. I don't think any of the changes here actually actually affect the overall significantly changed Soul Beast in any way, but I do not know that build. I would love to know what it is. No, maybe it's on Metabell or something.
It might be just the power druid one that uses, I think it's staff longbow.
Yeah, but so I'll check it out. I haven't been paying attention too much to the meta stuff just yet. But next up is Revenant. Shout out to Mech. I feel bad for you, man. But power build Revenants have been languishing behind their condition build counterparts. Impossible odds, phase reversal, and the focus siphoning trait were changed to give the Shiro Tagachi invocation and the devastation specialization more burst potential. Or targeting particular changes, the Renegade Elite specialization receives several short bow damage increases, and the Legend energy cost improvements in PvP and World vs. World to smooth their gameplay in a competitive arena. Thank you! Finally. Sorry. Now, I'll read... Dale is not here, but I'm going to read out this. He wanted this forever. Herald facets that were active when mounting will now reactivate when you dismount. There you go, Dale. They did it. They did it. Hope you feel good. Alright. But yeah. Revenant. there's a few interesting changes. I do like the reduced energy costs for sure. I always thought Renegade needed it to actually be
It's
competitive in any respect, but
it's not going to be enough.
it's not gonna be enough. Yeah. Yeah. We'll talk. This was
We'll,
a
we'll,
later change. Brutality added a 1 second internal cooldown per target to this trait. Now, thanks. You want to explain what brutality does?
okay, so let me pull this up on the notes here. Do, 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 do. Dismantle fortifications, which was the trait where when you removed stab, you removed 2 stacks of stab, was replaced with brutality, which grants quickness when you weapon swap and causes your strikes to remove stability when you have quickness. Now, the problem with that is it had no internal cooldown originally, which meant that if you had something that could multi-hit very quickly, like say, what, staff 4?
Sword 2?
Sword 2, sword 3, you could strip a crap ton of stability with a much shorter window of time than usual because you're under the effects of quickness. Now, granted, Zekriax, I think earlier brought up, yeah, but a necromancer can just corrupt that in 1 second, but that's the problem with necros. So it was still way too powerful for anything that the Revenant should be doing, because you got to figure, what if you get quickness and you're using hammer and you're just swinging out bolts through a crowd in dub v dub? You're stripping stability and you're not even trying. Yeah. So it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, you can coordinate a burst for it, but when you're getting a lot of power out of it for just being incidental, I'm totally okay with them, putting an internal cooldown on it. It's a cool trait. I like it, but I totally understand the need for an ICD on it.
Yeah, I understand as well. Another change that happened was phase reversal. This skill is now unblockable and grants 3 seconds of quickness in addition to its previous effects. Now, before, they apparently fixed a bug with it, which this skill could be used on targets outside its range. It has been reverted. I didn't agree with the change at first, like when they first introduced it, mostly because like every other profession with a blink can do this. Like Guardians has the utility to do it, Thief can do it. Like, didn't make sense that they did that, but they revert it, so it's okay.
And Zekriax brings up the change to impossible odds, which instead of granting quickness and super speed, it's now super speed and your attacks launch a second attack, and it has a 1/4 second internal cooldown. So every hit is a double hit every 1/4 of a second. Mm-hmm. And I think it always counts as just another hit. It's not like it has any unique modifiers on it. It's like it's a secondary weapon skill.
That's pretty nice.
Which might have been another problem with brutality, because just a lot more free stab strip.
Yeah, that's true. There were some confusion changes, obviously, with Malix. So they did some skill splits between PvP, World and PvE. So confusion is the same in PvE, but for Banish Enchantment, it will inflict 5 stacks for 2 seconds in PvP and World, and Spontaneous Destruction will inflict 5 stacks for 2 seconds in PvP and World. For the bow, it actually got a lot of buffs in Shatter Shot, Spirit Crush, Scorch Razor.
You want to read the number out on Scorch Razor in PvP and WW?
333% in PvP and World increased damage.
Yeah.
That's a lot. That was a really undertuned skill.
There were no renegades in PvP.
Yeah.
Before this. They just didn't exist.
So yeah, they tried, and at least
the
ones I saw.
Anyway. The reason they don't exist in PvP is because it is very easy to incidentally CC their spirits.
Isn't that still an issue?
Yeah, no, they're targetable.
Yeah, so
you just like if I was a ranger and I saw a spirit, I would save my point blank shot for the spirit because get that shit out of here. I think that the only way you're really going to see them do well in PvP and WW is if their spirits become untargetable.
Yeah.
So, because in WW they just die to cleave because they don't get the AoE damage reduction protection in PvP or WW.
Yep.
And in WW they die to cleave. In PvP it's really easy to just throw a quick CC at them or knockback or something. And that might be a typo, Zekriox. I just think it's funny that it's still in there.
Uh, maybe. It's very possible. But yeah, it seems like most of the changes have been improvements for PvP and World vs. World in general. So we'll see if anyone's brave enough to actually venture and renegade and see what happens. I think at least the short bow could be useful, but
Yeah, I can't see the legend being used until in PvP. I can't see the legend being used until the spirits are untargetable.
or they, I don't, unless they're untargetable or they have like this initial thing when placed, like this initial ability when placed, and then they have their passive, whatever. I don't know.
Well, the problem I have with that is that they're not even Zekriox. Do we? I think Zekriox is secretly Deo with all these puns. Like I swear, but the only problem I have with that is like you've got larger zone denial that is untargeted that you can't do anything about in the Scourge.
Yep.
And like the spirits from the Renegade just they're not even that strong. So
Yeah, they're not supposed to like technically do damage except like that one that does bleeds, I think. But like I think they're supposed to provide support, and that was the
mm-hmm.
idea. But I don't think it's yeah. I do agree with the untargetable thing is the most ideal thing. Anyway.
Yep.
Next up is Thief. Now, we feel that the current offering of stolen items wasn't scaling well enough with the difficulty of raid bosses, so we added a selection of new stolen items that have effects tailored to the needs of a raid party. The Deadeye's Malice generation, while appropriate for normal enemies, ended up scaling poorly against larger bosses with lots of health. Losing Malice because of a marked timeout in a long fight felt disappointing, so we updated Deadeye's mark to preserve Malice stacks when marking the same target again. We also increased the power of several rifle skills to account for the higher health of PvE enemies. TLDR, yes, Deadeye got good. I will say for PvE at least. So for the skills that give us a ton of boons, we got alacrity in those. So consume plasma, the stolen skill got alacrity. They reduced Deadeye's mark so that the recharge is from 30 seconds to 25 and increase the duration from 25 to 30 so that you can effectively mark your target again if you want to, which is a good change across the board, not just for PvE, because if you're in a long fight in World versus World and you want to remark a target, or if you're in a long PvP fight, for whatever reason you're playing Deadeye there, and you want to remark target, it's actually really good. The only thing that sucks about that change is that you will not trigger Perfectionist every single time, which means you don't get boons. But anyway,
They're gonna have to work on that, aren't they?
Uh, it's like it's it's useful the first time, and ideally you shouldn't be in like a fight for a minute. So,
well, I'm talking about like raid bosses.
For raid bosses, I guess. Well, maybe I don't know. That really depends. But I think you get enough boons from like Mesmer and stuff anyway, so it's okay in that respect. So they increased the deadly aim, spotter shot, 3-round burst. These are all Neil skills. I think spotter shot is a Neil skill. they increase the damage of those. Death Judgment, scaling per malice increased from 20% to PV. This caused the rifle Deadeye raid build to be born, and it does around 30k DPS, which is actually pretty good. I did some testing with it with slightly less optimized weapons, and I did around 28k, so it was pretty good. And they updated the steel table so that this is interesting because the stolen items that you get are only for if you're on base thief or daredevil. Deadeye does not get these from what I've seen. I'll double check later on to make sure, but it seems like they want to be able to provide the boons with Deadeye. Anyway, so for Unstable Artifact is one of the skills you can get. Oh, I should also mention that each stolen skill per specific boss that they put these on, you will always get that same stolen skill. So if you're fighting like...
Oh, so it's not random among the 4.
Yeah, so if you're fighting... Okay. If you're fighting... What's his name? Samurag.
Keep Construct. Oh, okay.
Well, Samurag's one I know that you get a specific one stolen. You get a Magnetic Bomb. That's the stolen item that you'll always get. So the items are Unstable Artifact. Shadow Step to an area and deliver a large immobilizing strike. If a downed ally is in your target area, you will instead Shadow Step that ally to your location and partially revive them. You actually get this on Karn, which is pretty useful. Detonate Plasma. Activate this skill to apply many boons to nearby allies. I don't know where you get this from, but it sounds awesome. Soulstone Venom. Use a corrupted soulstone to immediately remove all conditions from nearby allies, converting each unique condition removed into an instance of Soulstone Venom that on an ally. And when this ally attacks, an additional strike that source from the applying thief will be applied to all your successful hits. Basically, it is a Condi conversion into an extra strike ability. I think you probably get this on fights like Matthias or Slothazor. So
yeah, that would be nuts on Slothazor. That giant AoE Condi cleanse, that's gross.
Yeah, I think I haven't tried it on it, but it makes the most sense there. Magnetic Bomb is last one. It throw a magnetic bomb that constantly damages and pulls enemies to a point. This is actually good for Samurag because of the break bar. I know some people, if they lack breaks, so like you just throw that there and boom, you continuously pull until it breaks. This is also good for probably fights that have mobs, so maybe Sabbatha or what's his name? First boss in Wing, second boss in Wing 1. Anyway, I forgot his name. Anyway, the one that does the world ender. You get the one with the tentacles and souls, all that good stuff. You know, but you guys basically get the idea. But overall, PvE Deadeye is actually good.
See, I kind of wish that they wouldn't just have it. Like, I could totally see them having a Gorseval. Thanks, right. Savage. I could totally see it instead of being you just get one stolen skill out of this table for a given boss. I could see it having like a subset as a table, because I could imagine Magnetic Bomb being really cool on Slothazor.
Oh yeah,
because pulling in the slubs so you can burst them. So, and I definitely do agree with Zachryox that this uniqueness is definitely something that was needed.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it will especially be good for those specific fights. Deimos, oddly enough, doesn't... I actually don't know if Deimos had one because I played Deadeye on that one. But it's very interesting to actually like use these skills. I kind of wanted the random elements as well, but I can understand why they did the specific one every time, just because it's like, for this fight you will have this item, use it wisely type of deal. So,
and Uncultured Savage, you're right, pulsing pulls on Slothazar might be dangerous, but it's about the same as your necromancers knowing when to hit Epidemic and when not to hit Epidemic.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's use at your own risk.
I've I've been a slubling and got epied. That was both impressive and terrifying. So
Yeah. Um. Yeah. World vs. World. I mean, the mouse change is actually good. The doesn't really change too much in my opinion. PvP it doesn't change much at all. Um. But
there are literally no real changes.
yeah, it's mostly PvE stuff if anything.
Yeah. Like honestly, if you're having to Deadeye mark a PvP or WW target after 25 seconds, you're not doing your job as a Deadeye.
Yeah. Anyway, I gotta work on my rotations by the way. Anyway, moving on. Last profession we got is warrior. Our main focus for the warrior was to improve power damage and group utility in PvE. We approached this by adding multipliers to various trait sections and improving some base weapon damage with the intent of giving warrior a more viable core power build. Berserker maintains condition effectiveness, and Spellbreaker continues with its disruptive behavior. We also toned down some Spellbreaker effectiveness in PvP and World vs. World so that there is more time to react and counter their powerful skills.
What powerful skills?
In
Like honestly, I think the only time people were complaining about Spellbreaker is when they weren't fighting their Spellbreaker near their Scourge.
the for World versus World, the Spellbreaker bubble is used a
Okay,
lot.
I believe that. And they what? They doubled the interval on it, so it's a
Yeah,
1 second interval instead of a half-second interval. So
yeah. And I've heard that you can run PS Spellbreaker now more reliably, so that's
that's
interesting.
that strikes me as really weird.
I saw the potential for it. It's just that there was enough damage to make it worth it. But now I think there is. So
I always found it like kind of. I guess in raid you can reliably proc your because just all the pulsing damage in raid you can reliably proc your full counter a lot.
hmm.
So you can actually make use of your two burst skills on a
Yeah.
really active basis, but I don't know why you'd run Spellbreaker because I'm pretty sure both
For
Core and Berserker
fractals.
can do.
There
Oh,
you go.
Fractals, yeah, like
Yeah.
Fractals would work. But I'm pretty sure that you do, but that's more incumbent upon each individual party member to stay alive for Fractals, so that makes sense.
Yeah. But it's
35k damage, okay. But if Tavik, if you're still in the audience, Axe 5 got buffed again.
there you go. Increase damage by 20% in PvE only. Whirling axe.
Um,
Increase some damage on greatsword as well.
the other thing is the banner trait, the one that gave regen when you bannered, now also increases the banner buff amount by 50% for the warrior himself or
Yeah.
herself,
Oh
which
yeah.
is cool.
Yeah. And banner of tactics. Instead of applying a 10% longer boon duration, this banner now applies 170 concentration at level 80. Just so that people know that. Um, pretty interesting stuff. Also, confusion changes there. Yeah, confusion
Yeah.
changes across the board. Um, for the most part. Mage Bane Tether actually got an interesting one. Tethered targets take 10% bonus strike damage from the Spellbreaker in PvE only.
That's Big Game Hunter from Dragon Hunter.
Mm,
So,
yeah,
I mean, it's cool, but it's basically just take Mage Bane Tether for a 10% damage buff.
yeah. We'll see what. But yeah, that's that's a lot of the balance changes. A few other changes that we actually didn't go over. Some structured player versus player stuff. Testimonies of heroics have been added to regional and living world reward tracks. A vendor who will purchase various scrolls of heroics will be added to the PvP lobby, so that you can play PvP and you can unlock elite specs for World Sword or PvE if you want to go in there. Um, And also testimonies of heroics have been added to the regional living world reward tracks for World versus World as well.
Before we step too far away from class balance, I actually want to bring up what Wispy Gem just said in chat. Overall, I feel it's been a pretty good balance patch. Definitely doesn't feel like three people picked at random and stuck in a room. I completely agree. I don't think that everything has been addressed entirely. Like, I still think Scourge is too strong. I still think Firebrand is a little too strong. And this is coming from PvP since that's most of what I play now. I, I think it is easier to kill them. It is less onerous to fight them. I'm not even going to base it on me killing them. I don't feel like I am hopelessly outmatched by class mechanics. Okay. I feel like I can actually outplay them at this point. But when I walk onto a point and a Firebrand just doesn't even attack me, I think there's still a problem. Like, they hit Tome of Courage, and I see the pages swirling around them, and they literally have no impetus to fight me. They just wait. So it's one of those things where I look at it and I'm like, I don't know if that's just because of how they're designed, but it just kind of bugs me that that's something that they can do. Because like you said, it's an action combat MMORPG. If there's somebody who is completely not reacting to you, I think there's something slightly wrong with balance. But this is a good balance patch. Yeah. And the reactions from the dev team for bugs and stuff has been swift. I mean, how many tabs do you have open right now to the various posts in the...
I have 3 currently for the patch notes.
Yeah. So your test has been received, Kate, if you've been having problems with chat. Yeah. I think this is good and it's going in the right direction. And like we said earlier, I just wish they would iterate faster on balance changes.
Yeah, we all do. But yeah, I do agree. I echo Melthanis' sentiments. I think the balance patch was actually really good. Still some things to be changed on, but that comes with iteration over time, I guess. But yeah. Hopefully next balance patch it addresses more issues or issues that come up here. All right. Wow. That was a lot of bounce stuff.
All things considered, we actually got through pretty quick.
Yeah. I need a drink.
That may or may not be coffee.
That may or may not be coffee. I'll go out later and buy one. Speaking of buying things, let's move on to the gem store. Gotcha. Thank you to Dolphy for always buying all the things and so you can help spend your gems more wisely. The first thing we have up today is the new alchemy weapon set. This is you can get from the Black Lion chests for 1 ticket each. Oh, I skipped an entire topic, but we'll go back to it. This is for 1 Black Lion weapon claim ticket each, and it's actually really cool weapon set in my opinion. A lot of different they have like this blue purplish hue, and I personally like the hammer, which will come up a little bit, which is pretty epic. But what do you think?
I like I really like the dagger. I dig the like frozen in time liquid, because that's based like all of them are based off of like a potion bottle, and the blades are like the liquid spilling out of it, and the particle effects are cool. I like the fact that it's not like almost blatantly basically a legendary without footfalls. There's no unsheathed particles. There's a very subtle particle when you're swinging the weapon, but these are definitely good looking and what I would expect out of a Black Lion weapon chest set.
Yeah, I really like them. They have a nice aesthetic appeal, and the particle effect they said are really cool. I actually like the transition from blue to purple for some of them, as like your sheath and unsheath is very nice. I really like that shield too.
The shield is really beefy looking, and that's been one of my problems with shields getting added to the game, is a lot of them look real flimsy. or just incredibly impractical in their size. Like Shushadu, I think just looks bad as a shield because of how like far away it extends from your arm.
But
Granted,
you need the Quaggin in
legendary
there.
and it's a Quaggin,
The Quaggin has to breathe.
but the this shield is this is a good shield.
Yeah.
Like it's actually kind of feasible as an actual weapon.
Yeah, I really like the weapon set. Um, Another thing that you can get is in the in the jump story you can actually get the Lucky Dog harvesting tool. That's 1,000 gems, and it actually gives bonus low level materials, bones, blood, and fangs sometimes when you're gathering. So it's kind of like Watchwork sprockets in that degree. So
And
I'm.
it is also a very good dog.
It's also very good dog. Yeah, it's a ninja dog because it comes out of nowhere.
Well, the problem, so Krista basically insta bought this when she found out about
Of
it.
course she did.
Because well, her her dog growing up was German Shepherd.
Mhm.
So having a German Shepherd was it was not low level any T1 through 6 says Mithrin.
Oh, okay.
So um but now she wants a lumber tool and a mining tool that are other dogs.
Wow.
Like, can
Oh
you?
yeah,
Okay,
that
so
makes sense.
what?
Yeah.
You've got a mining dog and he digs up the ore for you, and then you've got a lumber dog because what is the best stick if not the whole tree?
That's true.
So, and
Uh,
then they could use different breeds of dogs. So I think her response to it was ArenaNet Corgi Harvester when.
well, well, you might get it. And now I have to get this because it gives T6 mats. And I always get the things that will pay for itself.
This is the point in time where Deo would be, cough cough buying power, cough cough.
Hey, I gotta make legendaries. I need all the
Yeah,
advantages I can get.
I know Zekriox never knew a mining tool could bring such feels, but like the way she talks about her dog when she was a kid, like this is, yeah.
Yeah. Us-
So
yeah, it's. I like it. It's pretty interesting. It's our.
also, no,
What
go ahead.
I was gonna ask, like, we don't have a cat one when they're in the cat phase, right?
Nope.
Uh,
Um, the thing is, this also means that they have a German Shepherd model in the game, which means that it could be a mini pet.
I will name it Max.
That was her dog's name.
Oh wow.
So
There you go. Last up in the gem store. Well, technically not in the gem store. This is an uncommon drop from the Black Lion chests. You can get is the fire breathing bow slash quiver combo, and it's like I said, it's an uncommon drop from the Black Lion chest.
do
That
you get them separately or do you get them together?
I believe you get them together. But the Black Lion chest has been improved to been updated to the Year of the Dog chest, and you can preview it for a list of all the contents. You get an Evon Nashbe Lucky Envelope as a guaranteed item. You get the Griffin Hatchling package remains available as an uncommon drop, and the Crimson Lion Weapon Collection and the Lovestrap Weapon Collection are available as uncommon and rare drops respectively during the Year of the Dog chest. So, and uh, they also updated the Black Lion statuettes so that you can get new series of mount miniatures. So, mini rest, basically all the minis that have been in the gems, all the mount skins that have been in the gem store are now minis. So the Reforged Warhound Jackal, the Resplendent Alien Raptor, Umbral Demon Skimmer, the Summit Wildhorn Springer, Mini Grand Lion Griffin, like all those are minis that you can get in exchange for Black Lion statuettes. They have exclusive items like the Feather of the Zephyr package and Celestial Rooster are available, and they have additional items like the Wedding Attire, Pink Kwang backpack, and other stuff. So
That bow is stupid big.
bow is
I'm
stupid
just
big.
sitting here watching it playing in the background, and it's just that's a little ridiculous.
That's something like a Norn or Char would bring. I feel like it's just like
Yeah,
like a heavy duty bow. That's pretty awesome.
but yeah, and I believe that Ada, that it has really bad clipping issues because the model is so big.
We can't complain about clipping issues, guys. We can't.
Outfits, the guys, the reason we can't have armor sets is because of clipping.
But yeah, I really like it. If I randomly get a key, I'll open a chest for like the Year of the Dog and we'll see if we get it. But I I can't complain on that one. That's true. You're all entitled to your own opinions. Um, how
Zacharyax, you kind of have a point. It is somewhat less ridiculous than modern longbows.
let me see the yeah. I mean, I would use it on my Berserker warrior.
Yeah, that would be pretty cool on a berserker or anybody else that has some kind of fire theme that can use a longbow.
Yeah.
I have a gem store update. I
Okay.
brought it up in pre-show, but I wanted to bring it up during the full show. I bought the lion.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I bought the Griffin skin. I bought the 2K Griffin skin. They got me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't regret it. Like I did it.
Air's Legacy builds on fire, but that's a dragon on it. It's a dragon. It's awesome.
I do, Ada. I do like it. I haven't even had a chance to dye it. I had to remote into my computer at home to do it.
Had to give us a nice longbow skin once we mostly use Power Spellbreaker instead of Connie Berserker. Rip.
Honestly, ranged weapons for war. I'm going to get into my ranged weapon rant for warrior after show because I don't want to start that because that's back to balance.
Okay. And the topic that I actually missed over is the there was a post that I actually found today was that what ArenaNet thinks about buying and selling raids. I didn't actually cover this. So this is a quote from the team. Reaching back to the roots of Guild Wars, selling runs has been a core role for certain members of our community. We recognize that some players are not able to complete all content other players have provided a service of convenience or carry through the years, and our official stance that the selling or buying of runs is completely acceptable. However, there is a point where things get a little more tricky, such as when account sharing is involved or when the transfer of enormous wealth for raid runs take place. At this point, we believe we need to clarify a few things. One, first, account sharing is incredibly risky as it often leads to the compromise of the account, which after the account may be locked for an indefinite period of time or permanently terminated. We very seldom are able to retrieve and return a previously shared account to its owner, which is why we strongly recommend that you never share your account with anyone. I have something to say about that, but second, after digging into the origins of the funds involved in large transfers, we learned that almost all of them were directly involved in some sort of fraud and or RMT. Obviously, fraud is disallowed and the real money trading RMT is absolutely against the rules. So, in summary, buying and selling of runs is acceptable, but ArenaNet does not officially support buyers or sellers, so buying or selling of runs is done at your own risk. If we investigate a transfer and establish that funds originated from fraud or RMT, we will take action against all parties involved. The action, depending on the situation, could involve removal of funds, account suspension, and or account termination. So basically, yes, it's okay to sell or raids, Yes, it's okay to buy raids, but if you're going to buy a raid, be careful of like how much you're sending them at like any one specific period of time. Maybe space it out if it's gold or something like that. I don't know, but just be careful about it. Yeah,
Uh, yeah.
I'll do a link real quick.
I got it. I
Okay.
just picked it up.
Um, this information is from this straight from the
This is Gale
forums,
Gray.
and but yeah, it's perfectly okay. Like if you buy a raid for like 10 gold for like I don't know like a wing one clear, I'm pretty sure that's okay. But if you're gonna transfer like I don't know like 500 gold and 3 legendaries, like I think that's what they're looking at like as in suspicious activity. So uh and the thing I wanted to
I don't
bring
know. That sounds like somebody quote unquote buying a raid for a really dumb price.
it's to each their own, but the thing is the account sharing, the first point that they had, we're very seldom are able to retrieve and return a previously shared account to its owner, which is why we strongly recommend that you never share your account with anyone. um I may have misread that a little bit, but um it's very interesting because I'm pretty sure they have like the account available. It's just that they don't want to give it back to the user, which is interesting. Like to your original
It
user.
they can't determine who if multiple people have filled out an account reclamation with valid data on both sides,
Okay.
then they can't determine solely who is the account owner. So at that point, the account just remains locked. And yeah, what QED said, it's literally just I'm gonna PayPal you $25 for a raid run.
Oh yeah, I I don't know how those go. Uh,
Yeah, no, like stuff like that is if they determine that you have paid actual money to do something in game, they don't support that. You can do your buying and selling of raids entirely in the game, but also
I read that
if
incorrectly
some
then.
if somebody and that's the other thing is like QED is also saying like they can PayPal you the money and then roll back the charge, like some people
Right,
do with like
right.
large sum trolling of Twitch streamers. So it's stuff like that, and then
Okay, that makes
and then
sense.
stuff like if you get scammed in game, they're not going to do anything about it. It's like one of those things where it's like
That makes sense. Okay,
that this is a risk.
that makes a lot more sense. Okay, I read that. I read that as in game. Like I didn't read that as paying real money like throughout. Like
Yeah,
I thought. Yeah, I thought obviously like if you're gonna pay real money, it's at your own risk. But uh,
yeah. And then I kind of agree with Crichton Herald here. Is like if people are buying a run for however much
yeah,
gold they
yeah,
want to pay for a run,
yeah.
go ahead.
If you want to send 500 gold and 5 legendaries to someone for like all the raid ring clears, it's totally up to you. Uh,
But at the same time, if you end up getting scammed,
that's yeah, that's I would give 1 legendary and like 100 gold every time I clear a wing. I think that would be the deal I would do. But if I were going to do that, I wouldn't do that because I wanted my legendaries. Anyway, but that was the last topic for today. Thank you for everyone for coming out. But Jim, where can you be found?
I can be found on Twitter at MelThanosMMO. You can also find me here on twitch.tv/Talking Skritt every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for our Zero to Hero PvP night
Is it?
show. Wow, I completely just blanked on the rest of my outro. Anyway, hope to see you all there. I'm still in Gold 3, which is better than Gold 2 I was last season. I hit Plat 1 again this
Right.
past week. Immediately lost it, which, again, I kind of figured was going to happen anyway. But
Okay. Well, I'm sure you'll
I'll
get
live.
there. And you could follow me on Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube at Age Night Road. Ugh, I need to do a vlog. There's been so many things that happened last month that I'm trying to organize it into a proper thing. Uh, But yeah, that'll come out, and I'll stream sometime next week. I haven't done much streaming this week because I was busy. But yeah, I'll toy around with stuff. You can also follow us on Twitch at on twitch.tv/Talking Skritt. You can follow us on YouTube. Just Google Tinfoil Taylor Flits. We're usually the first thing that pops up. You can also follow us on Twitter at Talking Skritt. And you could also join our Discord channel. Links in the description. We just hang out, have some good talks. We don't, we have channels for other games as well. And what am I forgetting? Oh yeah, we also, if you missed this live on Twitch, we also put this up on YouTube. That goes up at noon Eastern, 11 Pacific. No, 9 Pacific. My brain.
3 hours.
3 hours.
3 hours difference.
3 hours difference, right? Anyway, that does it for us. So from everyone here, thank you for watching. And we'll catch you next time.
Bye, friends.